everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And the day has come. I told you guys that we'd be back once the Panthers hired an offensive coordinator, and didn't take as long as I thought it might. Although I don't know if he's officially hired yet, but all the reports are saying Be McAdoo, former head coach of the New York Giants, former offensive coordinator of the New York Giants, has been offered the job. They're working on the contract now.
Yeah, that's everything
so
I'm seeing reported.
Yeah. Be McAdoo, Jerry. Be McAdoo. How you feel about it? Just initial thoughts. Before looking at any stats, anything like that, you just heard the name.
I really don't like Be McAdoo. Until I kind of looked at the stats before that. But that being said, it is what I kind of expected us to get. Kind of a retread offensive coordinator, retread head coach. You know, someone who doesn't inspire a lot, but at the same time, you can just be like, whatever. Because Matt Rhule's not going to be able to get that top tier guy. I mean, he's a lame duck head coach right now. Yeah, he has longer on his contract, but they know they have to produce right away. And this team is not ready for that. The offense, at least. I mean, you have Sam Darnold and a crappy O-line. I mean, like Pep Hamilton, I'm sure they got some don't even look this way type of answers from guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like Matt Rhule had a very specific skill set he was looking for. He wanted a guy that had been an OC before. I have a feeling that David Tepper may have also said, you maybe need to bring somebody in who's also been a head coach in the league, which is why we heard Bill O'Brien, we heard Jay Gruden. McAdoo's name kind of came out of nowhere, a week ago, maybe a little less than a week ago when we heard he had been interviewed the first time. I mean, my initial thoughts were, Panthers Nation is going to hate this. I mean, there were already jokes just from the interview process, for him. The fact that we were even looking at him caused a reaction from Panthers Nation. But if you look at him as an offensive coordinator, I think a lot of that hate comes from the head coach, right? His head coaching record, where his first year 11-5, second year 2-10. He's the guy that benched Eli, when he had the streak going.
Yeah, I think that's what really put the nail in his coffin as a head coach was that whole fumbling of trying to get rid of Eli Manning for Geno Smith too. It wasn't even like he had someone great behind him that you could say, well, now we can kind of see where his head was at. Geno Smith. I mean,
nobody thought Geno Smith was the next guy in New York. Like, give me a break.
Well, not in New York Giants. They did think that in the Jets, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Excuse the Giants. Sometimes I forget there are two teams in New York. But yeah, as an offensive coordinator, he was very successful.
Yeah.
I think you've got some stats.
Yes. So starting in 2013, the Giants were horrible. Let me think. They went from 28th highest scoring offense, so basically near the bottom, to 13th in 2014 under him. And he did not have a great team around him. Eli was there. Their running back was Rashad Jennings and Andre Williams. And then in
Victor
2000,
Cruz, right? Victor Cruz was their big receiver.
No, it was Odell, I believe. Let me check here. Stupid mouse is not working. Josh Brown, Odell Beckham. Yeah. Victor Cruz was on that team, but he only started 6 games.
Okay, he must have gotten hurt.
Yeah. But in 2015, that scoring offense jumped up to, God, what is going on with my internet? It's not pulling up.
It jumped up to 6th. Yeah.
Like all my stats are getting bogged down. Sorry.
And they had lost their starting left tackle. They lost Victor Cruz that season. They lost their starting tight end that season. So, to be as successful as he was with that team as an offensive coordinator, again, to be very clear, that's a nice resume. to be honest, and it got him the head coaching job. Right,
Mm-hmm.
he succeeded Tom Coughlin as the New York Giants head coach and had a really nice first season. Took the team to the playoffs, and then it was that second season where everything just sort of collapsed and the Eli benching and all that stuff. And I kind of agree with you. I think the Eli benching probably played a lot into why he was fired. I mean, he had completely lost the public at that point.
Yeah.
Probably even worse than Matt Rhule has lost Panthers Nation. I mean, because Eli was beloved and
Yeah, he brought them to Super Bowl, even
yeah,
though, granted, the defense really kind of morally contributed, but
right,
he still brought it there. So yeah,
yeah,
those fans were loving. It was like if Cam got benched here,
for
I
Sam Darnold.
yeah, for Geno
You know,
Smith,
yeah,
yeah, it was a bad look, and yeah, like you said, the fans. I mean, the owner Mara didn't like it either because
mm-hmm.
he loves Eli, so
Sure,
he
yeah.
that was just a really bad move and kind of ended everything.
Yeah, it torpedoed his career, his head coaching
Yeah,
career.
and think about players too. I mean, Eli had a good season the year before, and then you do that for Geno Smith. You got to think that locker room was like turned on him quickly.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, my question with him is, he was fired um, in December of 2017, and then I don't see any other jobs for him until 2020 when he was hired by Jacksonville as their QB coach. Of course, he was then let go along with everyone else after that season. He spent this past season as a consultant with the Cowboys, an offensive consultant with the Cowboys. So um, I wonder what he was doing in those years. Maybe was he on TV or something? He's not the
I don't know. I can't find anything. I mean, in the hour I've done research on this, I mean, he
yeah,
just became the head coach, and like you said, kind of out of nowhere. My thought is maybe he just took a year or two off.
yeah.
Gruden did it where he wasn't even a commentator, where he just more or less just was watching film, kind of learning a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more. And you know, being a coach is a lot of work. It's a very time
Yeah,
consuming job, and he's married, has kids. Maybe he just took some time to be a family man for a couple years.
yeah. That's possible. Yeah, you just don't see that a ton with these guys, these football
No,
lifers. I mean, and this guy's been a coach since 1996.
yeah, but he's only 44. I mean,
Right.
I say only as like most of the listeners here are
Wow,
younger, but
really? That is true. Wow.
I mean, he's
I
been
didn't
doing
realize how
this.
young he was.
He's
Wow.
been doing this since college. Like college
Yeah.
was his main start.
Wow. Huh. Well, I'll just say that I know the hope was, and right after the season, it was reported that we were going to get our rock star OC to save Matt Rule's job. And then as we started kind of seeing, Pep Hamilton turn down an interview, and some of the guys that were initially mentioned, we never actually saw that they interviewed or even
Yeah,
even brought in for a virtual interview or anything. So it started sort of seeming like this is the kind of guy that we were going to get, a Jay Gruden or a Ben McAdoo. It sort of to me felt like it was going to be one of those two. And
yeah. I
there
think
you
Bill
go.
O'Brien was out a dream. I I agree, and I kind of saw
Yes.
that on the wall, and I tried to explain this to a couple people that this is not a desirable job right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bad O line, you have a bad quarterback situation, you have some decent receivers, you have a great running back if healthy,
Right.
but you have all that, and you have to win. You have to
Yep.
produce right away.
Yep.
So if you're a top tier guy, I would hold out for one of the other jobs, and it makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, people weren't beating down McAdoo's door to get him
No,
in their franchise, especially not at a coordinator position. So, it's gonna. I tweeted out earlier that Ben McAdoo is he's not the rock star we were all hoping, but who cares? Like
no,
he's either gonna help the team, we're either gonna win or we're gonna lose. and it's all going to be reset next year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point that we're at. So if you want to root for Ben McAdoo to succeed and Matt Rhule to stick around, and we've had this conversation before, then you could talk yourself into this. You could talk
Yeah.
yourself into how much success he had with the Giants, and that maybe he could reproduce that here. Or you could look at his horrible head coaching record and the fact that he hasn't really had a high-profile job since then, and that he's just going to continue the slide that this franchise has seen for the last several years. You could talk yourself into that. So it's kind of something for everyone, I guess, right?
My big question for the hire is Matt Rhule keeps talking about running the ball. Ben McAdoo was not running the ball. He is definitely a passing-oriented head coach or coordinator. So it goes back to my question of, does his team really have an identity? Does Matt Rhule have an identity of what he wants his team to be? Because again, this doesn't seem like a smart hire for that type of situation. If you want to run the ball, this is not the coordinator you probably would have gone with.
Well, I'm wondering if he's realized that this is 2022. And if you look at the playoff grid, not a lot of like run heavy teams there. Now there are one or two for sure. I mean, Tennessee, you would consider pretty run heavy team, even without Henry. But otherwise, those are quarterback driven teams. Even San Francisco, they do a lot of different things offensively, but I think, I'm hoping at least that Ben McAdoo can come in and we can have some fun, some interesting things on offense. Because I think with the talent that we currently have, you have a lot of different options that you could do that we haven't seen utilized. We haven't seen DJ Moore utilized in that running back type role, like Deebo Samuel. I mean, they're very similar type of player.
I mean, we haven't seen DJ Moore even be utilized. He gets 1,200 yards because he's good, but you never see him catch in open field because the scheme never lets him get open. So yeah, I hope Ben McAdoo is able to do that, but I'm not looking forward to 40, 50 passing attempts to like 13, 15 rushing. It just, doesn't bode well for me in the way the wins and losses go.
I think that's going to completely depend on Christian McCaffrey staying healthy. Because if you have Christian McCaffrey healthy, then he's going to get carries. He has to. You're paying him all that money. He's that good. Now, if he gets hurt again, then I think you could see basically a repeat of what we saw this season, where they completely abandon the run most of the time, and you're just out there slinging the ball around hoping something good happens.
Well, if I remember correctly, they were just slinging the ball around when he was healthy too. He only had 10 rushing attempts this year, like in games. I'm pulling up his stats right now. Christian McCaffrey.
McCaffrey?
So at the beginning of the year, his rushing attempts went 10 week 1, 10 week 2, 13 week 3, 14 week 5. And then he got hurt in Houston. So I don't count that. But that's still not a lot. And that's kind of the scheme that Matt Rhule was wanting. So this is going to be a pass-heavy offense with Sam.
You're looking backwards. He had 21 rushing attempts in week 1. He had 24 rushing attempts week 2. Week 3, he got hurt in Houston with 7. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're looking at, but they ran the crap out of him the first few weeks. That's what everyone was talking about. He had 30 touches in week 1. He had 29 touches in week 2. That's why we were all up in arms that his use was insane the first few weeks of the season.
Because I'm showing on
9-12. That's the first game of the season.
And ESPN, whatever I have up for his rushing attempts is all messed up.
Just look at the game log. Look at the game log. Start from the bottom.
Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna believe you
Okay.
because
Well,
I don't.
that's what it
Because this
was.
is
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
at
they're
the recent games against Miami. Well, never mind. I'm an idiot. Okay.
yeah, yeah. You're an idiot. That's okay. I'm just kidding. You're not an idiot. But yeah. I mean, you remember we talked about it. We talked about how much they were using him and how we were not surprised when he got hurt because he'd had 59 touches the first 2 weeks, and the majority of those were runs. So I completely believe that if he is healthy, they will run him. The problem is they're going to run him so much, he's going to get hurt. So it's going to be up to Ben McAdoo to figure out how to correctly utilize Christian McCaffrey in order to keep him healthy. Do I believe he can do that? I don't know. Honestly, don't know enough about Ben McAdoo to know if he's smart using his players that way. I just don't know.
I mean, he was with the Giants. If you're like me, they're completely out of my head most of the time, anyway. So
yeah, I mean they won a couple of Super Bowls against the Patriots, and that's you know, Eli and Tiki Barber, and I know Strahan. I know all those players and watched them in the playoffs, but I don't care much about them in the regular season. So I don't know. But I'll just say that I don't hate this hire at all. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm just sort of like, okay, let's see what happens. I think that's probably the healthy way to look at it.
Now, if you had to give this a letter grade, what would you go with?
I mean, all things considered, I think you probably have to grade it on a curve a little bit, considering who we were going to really realistically be looking at here. I give it like a C plus, B minus, something like that. I mean, I think really we won't be able to fully grade it, of course, until the end of the season, but just off the top of my head, I would say like a C plus.
Yeah, I would straight up C minus. I'm not that thrilled, and I'm not really looking forward to it. Like I said, I was hoping for more of a running style coordinator, but it looks like more passing.
Yeah,
and that's
see,
mostly my doubt of Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is hot garbage, and I think he'll never be really good. So,
well, I'm just assuming Sam Darnold is not going to be the starter in week 1 of 2022. So I have a feeling that it's either going to be a draft pick or it's going to be someone that we
Kirk Cousins,
acquire.
Derek Carr. Yeah, supposedly there's a rumor that the Panthers are interested in Kirk Cousins. I don't want that contract. I don't want that meaty middle of the road.
Him.
Exactly.
I mean, unless Minnesota would take Darnold back with his full contract. I mean, that would free up some money. But yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins he's
better than Darnold.
Guy that never wins.
Yeah.
So it offense would look better, but Kirk Cousins
it's just spinning the wheel.
Makes the big mistake. He never makes the big play, and he always makes the big mistake.
He's that
his whole career.
8-9, 9-8 quarterback. He spins his wheel in the mud. He's all right. He's better than what we have here, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, nobody thinks that Kirk Cousins is like a top 10 quarterback in the league or anything. Like, even though he puts up those numbers, he's just not considered that. And now, would I want him for like as a bridge quarterback over what we've had as our bridge quarterbacks? Of course, I'd take Kirk Cousins. But if they're thinking that they're going to bring Kirk Cousins in and give him, a 4-year extension or something, then I really hope that that's not what happens.
Yeah.
I really hope that's not what happens.
I mean, that's what they want to do with Matt Stafford. They want to back up the brand, like sign him, think he's the future here.
Yeah, but I liked Matt Stafford.
I like Matt Stafford a lot more, but I never thought Matt Stafford was the elite quarterback. He's a tier or two below that, in my opinion. I think he was a good.
I don't think so. I could see him being maybe one tier below those elite guys. But I mean, look at what he's done in Los Angeles. He's been really good. He's had a few little stinker games, but he threw 40-something touchdowns. Like, he played really well there, and they're 2 games away from the Super Bowl. So A lot of that, I think, is McVay.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that's what I think is he made Jared Goff go to the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford. Okay, we're completely off Ben McAdoo. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Ben McAdoo is going to take this team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
I hope he does recreate what he did for the Giants when he took over, because 2013, Eli had like 13 touchdowns or 18 touchdowns and 20 something interceptions, and then he really changed him around in 2014 to the complete opposite of 30 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So he does. He really did. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's known to be sort of a quarterback guru. That was sort of his reputation before he became the head coach and completely destroyed his reputation.
And maybe that's what they're banking on.
I just hope that they don't bank on him fixing Sam Darnold, because that's not going to happen.
See, I think Matt Rhule hitched his wagon to him. I think that is it. I think that is his quarterback. And I hear about the Kenny Pickett, and I just don't see where we could get another quarterback besides free agency, where you're going to be looking at quarterbacks.
You could easily draft Kenny Pickett at 20. I've seen a lot of mocks where he's going in the mid-20s. There's a couple of quarterbacks. Rhule from North Carolina is going around there. The Ole Miss kid, I think.
Matt Corral or Carroll. I don't know how to say.
I think but I've also seen him go later.
And Malik
too, so
Willis.
I think it just kind of depends. Yeah.
Malik Willis out of Liberty. And we will be looking at all those guys on our draft profiles coming up starting next week. Little plug, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think there's the Panthers could trade back to 15-16, acquire a second and a third round pick, and still get a quarterback at that pick. So I truly don't think that Sam Darnold is going to be the starting quarterback. I don't see how that helps Matt Rhule save his job. And Matt Rhule is trying to save his job. And I think Matt Rhule has seen that Sam Darnold is not the guy. He's basically said it in his press conferences, after the season.
Yeah,
they are not committing to Sam Darnold.
But do we want to draft another quarterback or trade for another quarterback? That's going to be his third quarterback.
We drafted. No, I'm just saying we haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round since Cam Newton.
Sorry, do we want to give him another quarterback? Because I agree.
My decision.
I know it's not your decision. Because then he's going to
get another quarterback. They're not going into the season with Sam Darnold and PJ Walker as their quarterbacks. That's just not going to happen. We thought that somebody else.
We thought that last offseason too, but
Well, now I think it even more. Because now they've seen what happens when they do something stupid like that. They should have listened to us last year. Could have saved the season. Honestly, and it wasn't just us; it was pretty much everyone. Was like, are you serious?
Why aren't you bringing
the quarterbacks you're going into the season with?
Why aren't you bringing in a veteran to at least help out Sam Darnold? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Or back him up, a realistic backup. Can you imagine if Gardner Minshew was on the team? That was the guy I think that everyone that could have been had for a very reasonable price.
6th round pick.
Contract. Yeah. And honestly, he'd have taken over probably week 5 or 6, and who knows what could have happened.
I think this team would have definitely ended with a better record with Gardner Minshew taking over week 6.
Yeah. 100%. So we'll see. But yeah, that's it. Ben McAdoo looks like is going to be the guy. Again, nothing's confirmed or official yet, but everyone's reporting it, and
we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, I would imagine later today or tomorrow you'll hear from the Panthers, and that'll be that. So, but no, I'm not doom and gloom about it. I just think wait and see.
I think you've mentioned it before, but this is now, since they kept Matt Rhule, it's just, I feel like I'm just sitting here in the water just waiting. I'm waiting in the water because I don't think this team's going to turn around next year. So I'm just waiting for the axe to drop so we can restart this again.
You're treading water in the middle of the ocean, and
Pretty
one of
much.
two things is going to happen. Either a shark is going to come and kill you, or a tugboat's going to come by and pick you up.
Pretty much.
Is Ben McAdoo the shark or the tugboat?
Yeah.
That's not the best analogy, but it's
But I mean, that's where I'm sitting at. Like, I know a lot of fans are still upset with him being not fired, and I'm one of them. But I mean, now that it's already been a couple weeks past the end of the season, I am where I am with this team. I don't see this team getting a lot better this offseason. I will probably switch by the draft because that's what I do every year as I get excited after the draft picks.
You don't want to root for the team to lose, right?
No.
I mean, that's not fun. That's not what we're here for. I will say, for anyone who is still hanging on to some thread of hope that Matt Rhule is going to be fired, I think you can let go of that. Now that he's hired an offensive coordinator, they're not going to now fire the head coach. That's not going to happen. So Matt Rhule is here at least until 4 or 5 games into the season. If we start off 0-4, 0-5, then Ben McAdoo is going to be your head coach until the end of the season. So,
and my thought here too is the only way Matt Rhule gets fired right now is if Tepper did say that rock star and this Ben McAdoo is being brought to him. But I don't think it would get released out to Ian Rappaport and all the other NFL journalists at that point. And he wouldn't tell the Dallas Cowboys that he is leaving already.
Let me caveat what I said. Once the signing becomes official, then there's no chance Matt Rhule gets fired.
Absolutely.
So, once you see that the Panthers Twitter account say we've hired Ben McAdoo as our offensive coordinator, then just expect to be rolling into the season with Matt Rhule, Ben McAdoo, and Phil Snow as your coaching staff. I will be interested to see what Ben McAdoo does in terms of hiring an offensive staff. I hope that Matt Rhule
offensive line,
line coach and running backs coach and whatever the other special teams coach is still looking for that.
I was gonna say, I don't know if running back coach was fired. Was it? I know offensive line, defensive line, and special teams coordinator were fired.
Oh, that's right. Well, you could easily see the entire offensive staff being overhauled if they told Ben McAdoo he could bring in his own folks, then you could easily see that happening.
Jeff Nix is going to be on the staff no matter what.
I would imagine so.
He gets to carpool with Matt Rhule.
Yeah, he'll end up being promoted to like assistant head coach or something. Just because Matt Rhule doesn't want to hurt his feelings. Oh gosh. All right. Well, any other thoughts here before we wrap it up?
Nope. I think we pretty much settled it, and I can't believe this is almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, when is it not, Jerry? We always say we're going to jump on for 15 minutes, and it's always 30 minutes or 45.
All right. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. You can contact us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read the comment on the show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube.
As Jerry said, we'll be back next week with the first of our draft profiles. We'll be looking at several players in a wide range of picks, probably from 6 to, 20, 25, something like that.
I think I put on a couple guys that were top second round, late first round, so it could even be later than that.
We're just going to assume that it's quite possible that Fitterer is going to trade back here. I mean, that's sort of his MO, and the Panthers need extra picks. So I very much doubt the Panthers will be picking at 6.
Yeah, it'll be very offensive line, quarterback heavy. Mm-hmm. There's a couple linebackers and a safety on it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, last year we sort of did the same. We tailored it to needs, and we just missed the guy that they chose. Although we did preview 2 corners, they're just the wrong 2.
So we're going deeper this year.
Yeah, one of them, Surtain had a really nice season. Like
Yeah.
he would have been a fine pick as well. So
Well, I mean, our top player on that board for the longest time was Micah Parsons
yeah,
until they brought in Denzel Perryman. And then when Denzel
right,
Perryman, he dropped because we just assumed they weren't going to go that route. And hey, we
right.
would have been right to pick him at 8. He's a
Hey,
beast.
Micah Parsons. If you redraft now, Micah Parsons probably the first non-quarterback that gets drafted, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's close. So, all right. Well, we will see you guys next week, and until then, stay safe out there and keep pounding.